There are far too many handmade sellers who undercut themselves and don't price their products accordingly. So today, I'm going to be sitting down and explaining to you guys exactly how you can price your handmade goods in order to make a profit and to help you grow your business. So just to give you guys a little background first, my name is Tara. Hi, hello. I own a business called TaraLee or TaraLee Naturals. It is a skincare brand where I make homemade, natural, vegan, cruelty-free skincare products, and I sell them over on Etsy. So not too long ago, I posted a video explaining to you guys how you can figure out how much it costs to make your item you're selling. So personally, I sell skincare products, like I said, and in that video, I explained to you guys how I basically keep a graph. I keep a graph on my computer of how much each ingredient I buy costs in grams. That way, when I'm making a product that calls for 30 grams of aloe vera liquid, 2 grams of panthenol, 0.3 grams of liquid dermal plus, I can just easily refer to my graph and calculate how much it costs to make that item very quickly, very easily. We love that. So I highly recommend watching that video if you haven't seen it, or if you don't know how to figure out how much it costs to make your item, because I know it's really confusing starting out. So now that you know how much it costs to make your items, let's talk about how you can figure out how much to sell it for. So I recommend grabbing a pencil, some paper, pen, and jotting this stuff down because it's going to be very confusing, so get ready. Also, I do have a Patreon, and over there I'll have a blog post that goes right along with this video, so you can have just a written format on how to do this, because sometimes it's a lot easier to just have something written out rather than watching a video, or maybe after you watch this and you already are a patron, go over to my Patreon and print it off. I don't know, tape it to your wall or something, so then you always have the formulation and knowledge on how to price your handmade goods. So let's get started. So here's the formulation to figure out how much to sell your products for. The formulation is supplies plus labor times that by 2 plus overhead equals your wholesale price, and then you times your wholesale price by 2 and that equals your retail price. Sounds kind of confusing, right? I'll explain everything. Okay, so first let's talk about supplies. So your supplies is how much it costs to make your item, so you guys should already have that figured out. Another thing you want to add into supplies is a bubble wrap, your mailing packaging, maybe you add in a business card, you can add that cost in, your label cost. You want to add all of those costs in with your product as well, and that will create your supplies cost. So now you know your supplies, let's talk about labor. So labor, obviously you want to pay yourself, right? So you need to figure out how much you want to pay yourself and how long it takes you to make your products. So for example, maybe I could make 50 products in an hour. You need to figure out how much you want to pay yourself. So as a small business owner, you might want to pay yourself, just minimum wage starting out. What is minimum wage? I don't even know what minimum wage is. Let's Google it, at least in Ohio. Okay, so minimum wage in Ohio is $8.55. So let's say I can make 50 items in an hour. So then you want to divide 8.55, because I don't know, maybe you want to pay yourself minimum wage, maybe you want to pay yourself $10 an hour. We're just doing minimum wage. Divide it by 50. So that means the labor is 0.17. So 17 cents. So that's just an example. So then your labor cost would be 17 cents. Or maybe you make something like knitted products. This, obviously, your labor cost is going to be a lot higher because it takes a long time to knit things. I'm not a knitter, but I know I did it when I was a kid, and it takes a long time. So figure out what your labor cost is. Figure out how much you want to pay yourself and add that in as your labor. So now you got supplies plus labor. Add that together, and then you want to times it by 2. Let's just pick out some random numbers, okay? Say my supplies is $1.50. Add it to labor. We'll use 17 cents. So $1.50 is your supplies plus 17 cents as your labor. That equals 167. So let's times 167 by 2. Now we have 3.34. So I'll put that number right here. 3.34. So now let's talk about your overhead, because remember, this is the formulation, right? Okay, so our overhead, now listen up, this will get confusing too. Your overhead, okay, let me explain. So there are your supplies cost, right? All your supplies you put into an item to create it. Well, there's also overhead. Overhead is maybe you had to buy a new desk to work on. Maybe you had to buy a new computer. You're paying internet in order to sell your products online, right? Your internet cost, pencils, pen, a calculator, anything that you buy that you're using in your business that doesn't get added into your cost of supplies is your overhead. So finding your overhead will be a little hard if you're just starting out, but let's say you've been doing business for about a year or two. What you want to do is add up all your overhead expenses for the entire year. Like I said, it includes everything I mentioned before: internet, computer, pens, pencils, anything you use in your business that doesn't go into your actual inventory of supplies. So let's just say your overhead for the entire year is $1,000. What you want to do is take your overhead expenses and divide it by how many items you sell in a year. Like I said, you won't be able to figure out your true overhead costs until you've been doing business for at least a year. So let's just say you sold, I don't know, 500 items last year. So you take $1,000 and you divide it by 500 equals $2. So that means your overhead cost is $2. And just to let you guys know, the longer you do business, the lower your overhead will be. My first year, my overhead was $1.86. The next year, it went clear down to 80 cents. So the longer you do business, the cheaper your overhead will become. But you want to stick with 2 for now, since that is our number, at least our hypothetical number we came up with. All right, so let's go back to the entire formulation. We have supplies, like I said, is $1.50. Add 17 cents, that's our labor. That equals 167. Then you want to take 167 times it by 2. That equals 334. And then now we want to add our overhead, which we said was $2. So 334 plus $2 equals 534. So your wholesale price is 534. Then you want to times the 534 by 2. So 534 times 2 equals 1068. So 1068 is our retail price. That is how you figure out how much to sell your products for. This formula here. And it's very simple once you understand all the steps. So another thing I want to add in, if you're an Etsy seller, you want to add in your fee costs, right? So I highly recommend this website. I will link it down below. But it is an Etsy fee calculator. Like I said, our retail price is $10.68. If you want to, you can round that up to $11 if you want. I don't recommend rounding down, but we're just gonna keep it at $10.68. So what you wanna do is type in your sale price right here, $10.68. Now right here is your shipping cost. The issue with this here is that shipping price varies on where you're shipping. I personally only ship within the US and Canada, but what I like to do is add in just like an average price. So for me, an item that's $10.68, I'm going to say is like a toner. Hi Luna. So a toner typically costs anywhere between $3 to $4 to ship. So I'm just gonna type in $3.50. This will be different for you. Now you wanna go down here and type in the same stuff. Now right here, the payment method, this is gonna be different by where you live. But here in the US, it's 3% plus 25 cents. If you wanna know more about Etsy fees, I have a video talking all about Etsy fees. I'll link it down below so you guys can understand exactly what this means. But for in the US, it's 3% plus 25 cents. That is either the transaction fee or the processing fee. I can't remember exactly. Now down here is the number that you want to care about. I just kind of ignore everything else. To break even, you should charge $12.41. So round that up to $12.50. You can round that up to $12.99 if you want as well. But now you know that's how much you need to charge somebody to make a profit if you're selling on Etsy. Obviously, if you're selling in person or at a festival, fair, something like that, you can charge the $10.68 or round up to $10.99. That way you're not overcharging customers. But if you're selling at fairs and festivals and stuff, I know they have fees as well, so it'd be a good idea to calculate their fees into your item cost, so you're not, paying for costs that you shouldn't have to pay for, if that makes sense. But yeah, so depending on what site you're selling on or where you're selling, make sure you add in those fees into your cost of items so you can make a profit, because it's very hard making a profit as a small business owner. If you own a business as well, I'm sure you know what I mean. You are buying so many things all the time, and it's sometimes hard to make a profit. So you want to make sure you're pricing your products accordingly to where you'll get a profit. Now, another thing I want to mention is, even though we came up with a price for $10.99 or $10.68, whichever one you want to use, I recommend rounding up to $10.99. Compare whatever item you're selling to other sellers. So me, I sell skincare products. Hypothetically, I said this product was a toner, $10.99. That kind of sounds like how much I charge for my toners, at least for a 1 ounce or 2 ounce. But go on Etsy or whatever platform you're selling on and compare it to other people selling the same products. Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? If it's cheaper, you can actually charge more for your item if you want. If it's too expensive, it's okay. Just see how it does. If it's not selling, it's too expensive, maybe have a sale. That might increase some sales. But typically, just because an item is more expensive than others, it doesn't mean someone's not going to buy it. I mentioned this in my last video. I've done this video before explaining to you guys how to price homemade goods, but I wanted to make an updated one because I did it like 2 years ago. But in that video, I mentioned how when someone buys something that's more expensive, they typically take more pride in it, and they take more care in it, and they have higher expectations of it. So if you're buying a facial toner that is like double the price than you're typically buying from Walmart, you're gonna have higher expectations. You're gonna put on your skin, and you may even think it works better because it's more expensive. You know, not everyone thinks this way, but it is totally a thing. Also, they will give it more of a chance. So for example, some people might buy a product for $1, slap it on their face, and they don't like it. Whatever, they only paid $1. They're not gonna try it again. But if they paid like $20 for it, they're gonna keep trying it in hopes that they end up liking it because they paid more for it. So that's just something to think about. It's not true with everybody, but it is for a good handful of people. But yeah, so that is how I price my handmade goods personally. This is the formulation I use. Highly recommend it. I will put the formulation down in the description box so you guys can just like copy and paste it, save it to your phone or something. But it's a very good formulation, highly recommend it. So I know it's really hard starting out selling handmade goods, but trust me, it gets better with time. It's just very difficult at first, but you'll figure it out just with time. My cat won't stop meowing, oh my gosh. I just want to explain to them one more thing, okay? Just please. Just quit meowing. I know when you first start out, you might not have your labor calculated, you might not have your overhead calculated, but you do have the cost of supplies calculated, which is totally necessary. You have to do that. What you can do, this formulation is a little controversial. It worked out for me when I first started out, but what I did is I took my supplies, I times that cost by 3, and that was my wholesale price. And then I times that by 2, and that was my retail price. If it seems a little too cheap, times your supplies by 4, and that is your wholesale, and then times that by 2, that is your retail. Try one of those formulations, see how it works for you, because I know when you first start out, you don't have your overhead and you might not have your labor costs. So something to think about. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys learned something. Let me know if you want some more business related videos and what types of business related videos you guys would like to see. Let me know down in the comments. And now it's time for my Patreon shoutouts. Stardust Bath & Body over on Instagram. Nature's Farm Girl at naturesfarmgirl.com. Kennedy's Essentials at kennedysessentials.net. LettsBlend at letsblend.bigcartel.com. Creative with Love at creativewithlove.me. Wildflower at wildflowerwildflower.com. Heartfelt Beauty here on YouTube if you want some more formulating videos. Sugared_pineapple over on Instagram. KAJ Bath & Body over on Etsy. Blue Mint Soaps at bluemintsoaps.com. And Saytara here on YouTube. Also, I sell products myself over on Etsy if you guys want to go check them out. All my patrons and my Etsy shop will be linked down in my description box. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!
I'm stuck in the motions. I've been consumed by the wrath